Pégate para allá, vamos. Pégate para allá.
It all happened in a matter of seconds. What you just saw was that man pushing the door open and forcing himself inside the home. And then two other men with guns rush inside. After only 1 minute, the men then run out, pile into a car, and race down the street. A caretaker and two young children were inside the home at the time, and as you can imagine, a traumatic experience for all of them. When authorities arrived, one of the children, a 6-year-old boy, visibly shaken.
They trying to break in some shit.
They was. They had shovels and everything.
Yeah, they trying to break in that building so they can live there. Look at all these immigrants on exits, y'all. This shit don't make no sense. Like, they deep as hell out here. But look, they taking over this, y'all. Look. They in all type of cars. All type of shit out here, yo. 7935 exits. Send some help. They taking over. Look. I swear to God, they breaking in that building.
The city nonprofits have lined up to help the migrants that have come here, but nobody is helping the American citizens, the residents that are trapped.
It was extremely violent.
It was this moment caught on camera when Myrna Munoz says she knew something didn't feel right as one man pretended to be shopping, and then these three men sat in the cage waiting to be led into their shop, Joyeria El Ruby.
So the individual that was standing right here pulled a gun, and the three individuals that came in pulled guns.
Customers dropping to their knees, held at gunpoint. Some of the staff fleeing to the back. Munoz able to grab her kids and escape.
My mom and my cousin closed the door as I grabbed my 18-month-old baby.
Her mom, Lydia Tena, tried to hit the panic button before one of the robbers attacked her.
They hit her in the back of her head with the gun 3 times. They also hit my cousin Magdalena in the back of the head. She felt like they were going to kill her after they hit her 3 times with the gun in her head. And she, one of the times, tried to move to push the panic button. And they told her that if she moved at all once more, that they were going to kill her and they were going to kill my cousin.
Within another minute, cameras in the back capturing 4 more men entering the back door.
They had white gloves and they were all loading their guns.
Munoz says one assaulted her sister who walked into all the chaos.
He grabbed her by her hair, pulled her up the stairs, and told her not to move or he was going to kill her. And while he had her face down to the floor, he yanked all of her personal jewelry off.
The 8 men wiping out the store that's been here for 24 years in a matter of 3 minutes.
Everything, they just sort of started putting it in backpacks and duffel bags.
Denver police confirming they are looking for these 8 Hispanic men.
It's organized crime and their accent is from Venezuela.
Walls now bare and shelves disheveled. This family shaken and scared for the future of their shop.
This is very traumatizing. Yes, I'm very scared, and mostly for our kids.
A crowd of thousands gathered in Aurora last weekend. From the looks of videos on social media, it got wild. But some of the claims being made, including by elected officials, are even wilder.
Social media captured this large gathering in Aurora after Sunday's presidential election in Venezuela, where the crowd expected an autocrat to be thrown out of power. Aurora police believe 3,000 to 4,000 people were in this area Sunday night at the Gardens on Havana, the old Buckingham Square area in Aurora, A gathering that led to social media posts like this one from Aurora City Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky, where she wrote, "There were reports of assaults, thefts, and gunshots in the air. A police car was shot up."
That is the way that it was conveyed to me, but I have not seen the police car.
Jurinsky showed me several text threads that she said came from Aurora police officers with images and narratives of what was happening.
Assaults, theft, vandalism. There's multiple videos showing that.
They just jacked them?
You hear them yelling that someone just got jacked. You hear them yelling that they were just almost hit by a car. You hear the gunshots.
In a prepared statement to clear up misinformation, Aurora police say shots were fired in the air, but no one was injured, and that an Aurora police vehicle was hit by an unknown object while driving in the area, but it is still unclear if it was related to this gathering.
The interim police chief called me yesterday. We spoke for roughly 15 minutes. She is the one that told me that someone had in fact been grazed by the bullet.
That is not in the Aurora police statement. And before that statement came out, I asked Jurinsky if she felt officers might use her as a louder mouthpiece to spread information that might not be accurate.
Usually when one officer reaches out about something, I do take that into consideration, but when it's multiple officers that start reaching out about the same thing, I do look into it.
Tonight, chilling new details in the murder of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungaray in Houston. Two Venezuelan migrants, 22-year-old Johan Jose Martinez Rangel and 26-year-old Franklin Peña, charged with capital murder after authorities found the body of Jocelyn strangled.
These monsters took that opportunity from her.
Condolences to the family, writing in part in a statement, anyone found guilty of this type of heinous and shocking crime should be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Jocelyn's grandfather calling for change as the family mourns her death.
It shouldn't have happened. And how do we stop it?
It's bad. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrendous out there on the streets, and people are suffering. They're suffering. Like, there's no other way to do it. There's no other nice way to put it.
Okay, I needed to respond to this comment because one thing I don't think people realize is that these are not normal, regular, average asylum-seeking citizens. These people have been cleaned out of the prisons in Venezuela. So these men that are here are the worst of the worst of the worst. They're not regular people. And that is one thing I think people fail to realize is they're disguising themselves as window washers or this or that. And maybe some of them really are trying to be here and make a good living. But I just had a friend tell me that they came out of nowhere. At one day, they were all just there trying to wash windows. I just heard this today. And so they are not normal people that are.
I see a lot of people. I've seen multiple different videos where they've adapted so well to the American system and to what's going on as far as the opportunities that come along with lack security and the way that they used to operate in their own country, to where they basically are posing as Amazon drivers. They'll go and they'll knock on people's doors, and I've seen like the security footage of it, and the media is kind of trying to bury it a little bit, especially on the left. The left won't report on it. You know, the bigger platforms and all of their affiliates, they won't report on it. They won't report. And like they'll do the general news, you know, the stuff that you can't really avoid. Oh my God, everybody is getting kicked out of the apartments, and oh man, it must be a landlord issue. And they spinning it. They're literally spinning it. And you know, I have the opportunity to do the Millionaire Morning Show every single weekday morning, and make sure y'all tap into that. Also tap into the Patreon, link is in the description. And I always like to give credit back to the content creator, so that'll be down in the description also. But they spin it because I can compare and contrast. So I use multiple different sources and I compare and contrast. And what one news source will say that's on the left, they'll spin it and say, well, you know, the landlord is delinquent and the landlord wasn't taking care of business and so on and so forth. But then when I look at something that's a little bit more right leaning or a little bit more of a conservative platform, they'll actually show you and deep dive into the fact that the landlords is complaining. They'll call them and the landlord will be like, hey man, it's Venezuelan migrants have literally ran all of the tenants out. They've taken all of the rent. They basically extorting the people. They've taken over the entire facility. They won't let the maintenance people come in and fix the problems. And we've lost our properties. And this is happening all over Aurora, all over Denver. It's starting to proliferate in other places like in Dallas. And so I'm starting to get reports out of that. And so I'm going to stay up to date and keep y'all up to date on what's happening down there. But it's basically proliferating everywhere to where the migrant crisis is starting to spill over into your everyday lives. It's going into the cities. It's going into the suburbs. And these smaller towns are even more vulnerable because there's less people, less of a police force. And so what you'll see is especially where they have lax laws and stuff like that, they're basically treating them better than if you as a citizen was to get arrested for for the same crime or less. You would be locked up. If it's the weekend, you're being held over. It's bad. It's absolutely bad and horrible. And so now you have people on the ground. You're not even dependent on the news organizations to only say, well, this is what's happening in the migrant crisis or whatever, so on and so forth. Now, because we have social media, it's forcing the news to be accountable. And so when you see that sham Kamala Harris interview, she don't care about y'all. She don't care about what happens in your household. She don't really care about what's happening in the streets. She don't really care. And so when she'll lie to you and say, well, no, it's our immigration policy, then get the fuck out of here, bro. It's bad. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrendous out there on the streets. And people are suffering. They're suffering. Like, there's no other way to do it. There's no other nice way to put it. And I know y'all like to vote based off of identity politics, but let me just tell you something. When your safety and your money is on the line, all of that shit go out the window. We don't have the luxury to be able to go based off of identity policy, politics, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is a luxury. That is what people do when they get so relaxed and they're so caught up in their own emotions and this whole euphoria that they can start to do things that's out of character because it seems like they can afford to lose a whole lot of times before they can finally get their act together. We at desperation levels. It's horrible. People don't know what to do. Ain't no police presence. The majority of the police presence in these cities, in these liberal cities, in these urban centers, they're down. In Chicago, they're down more than 2,000 police officers, and they have a $982 million budget deficit because they've been supporting this crisis. And Trump was absolutely right. He told y'all, he said, listen, we emptied out the jails. We let them run roughshod over what we got going over here in the United States of America. The crime is down there, and they basically took them same gangs, and now they're adapting to the American system. They're posing as window washers, Amazon drivers. They're knocking on your door, and as soon as you put a crack in the door, they busting in. They've already broken into the gun shops. They walking around with guns with scopes on. How do you walk around with a gun with a scope on it? I've seen videos where people have posted on Instagram and TikTok where their neighborhoods are completely overran to where they playing loud music at night. It's horrible. Y'all thought that y'all had a problem getting out of the ghetto as far as, hey, oh, you can move out of the ghetto, but the ghetto don't move out of you. You thought that you had a problem there? Oh, no. You got a problem. You have a crisis. And when I say a crisis, this is a crisis like a pandemic, like Hurricane Katrina, like, the worst things, 2008 financial crisis, because they are literally taking over multiple different apartment buildings like the Carter. This would never be able to happen with a regular American citizen. And they are brazen, they confident, and it's almost like they got a second chance to, to do what they wanted to do, and they're doing it even more. The video that was circulating that was viral that I wound up doing a reaction to yesterday of them taking over, like the Ring cameras was capturing how they was breaking into stuff. They take hammers and was walking up with pistols. Dude, they was walking up with cell phones giving instructions to the dudes with the guns, and that was the break-in artists, and they were literally going into people's apartments. The residents that lived there, they were so scared. They was triple bolting, locking, and all of this stuff. It's horrible. It's absolutely bad. So I want y'all to remember this coming election. You don't have no other choice, bro. The very people that let them in, you think that they're going to save you?